Hi, I'm Andrea. Thanks for joining me for this 30-minute yoga practice. Today's one of those days where we're going to use our chair quite a bit. And it needs to be a chair that can kind of handle this business, you know? Not that wobbly chair or three-legged chair. You want to have something that's going to be able to hold a bit of your body weight. We're going to explore, make our way towards a Sun Salutation, and we'll do what's called puppy dog using our chair. Additionally, our friends are 2 blocks. So maybe you've got thick books that you use for that as a substitute. Folded blanket, could be a bath towel, maybe the throw blanket from your couch. If you don't have a yoga mat, don't worry about it. Find a carpeted area, not too slick, and you're gonna be just fine there. If you situate yourself so that you're facing me, I think you'll be able to watch me. I hope that also the verbal cues are helpful. I'll move myself around so that you get a better view, so that you don't have to do so much movement. And then we'll start, as we so often do, in the bedrock of all poses, Tadasana mountain pose. Feet hip distance, a soft bend in your knees, feet in the earth, crown of your head to the sky. Turn your palms away from one another so that you feel an uplift of your heart. And I mean in the structure, the architecture of our pose, but also just in the spirit of our pose. Your chin is parallel to the ground. Your breath is steady, and if you can, in and out through your nose. If you can't breathe through your nose, no problem. All I ask is that there's consciousness, awareness around your breath. We'll stay for just a couple moments to land here in our stance. Adding movement, inhale, arms out to the side, thumbs to the sky, a V shape, and then exhale, float your arms along your sides. One more time like that. Inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky. Exhale, arms along your side. Half Sun Salutation. Inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky, a V shape. Exhale, it's a hinge at your hips, and your hands come to your thighs. Traction your hands onto your thighs, and inhale some length into your spine. Kind of like a cobra or an up dog. And then exhale, hinge at your hips, with your head staying higher than your hips, and then inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky, V shape. Float your arms along your side, palms face out. Again like that. Inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky, V shape. Exhale, hinge at your hips and take your hands onto your thighs. Traction length as we inhale, almost like a cobra. Exhale, increase the hinge at your hips, and then inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky, V shape. Exhale, float your arms, palms facing out along your sides. One more time. Inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky. Exhale, hinge at your hips, hands come to the tops of your thighs. Inhale, traction, even more length than you found so far. Exhale, hinge back at your hips, and then inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky, V shape. Float your arms along your sides and stand in the majesty of your mountain. Adding on, this is where our friend, the chair, is going to come in. Now you want your chair situated at the short front edge of your mat, and if you don't have a short front edge, it's fine. You can kind of imagine that that's where you're situated with it. And close enough to your mat, not underfoot, but close enough that it's pretty easy to get to with your hands. Facing your chair, feet hip distance, stand into your mountain. And then inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky, V shape. Exhale, hinge at your hips, hands onto your thighs. Inhale, extend through your spine. Keep this length in your spine and place your hands solidly on the seat of your chair. So not at the edge, not something that's going to topple anything over. Be certain of your foundation here. And begin to walk back a little bit, a little bit, a little bit, so that you feel a stretch in the backs of your legs, and then also some oomph into your arms. Now it's really important that we keep our low belly lifting, and that we're not letting our head get lower than our hips. Spin your inner upper arms away from each other, so it's not a collapse of elbows out to the side and scrunch of shoulders into ears, and then play with the oomph in your arms. press into that chair. Push back a little bit, stand into your legs. This is our puppy dog. It's like a downward facing dog will feel eventually. And then step your feet forward. They're hip distance, they're close to your chair. Hands to your thighs. Inhale, get length, sort of like that cobra or up dog I was talking about. Exhale, increase the hinge at your hips. And then inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky, V shape. Float your arms along your sides. Great. Inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky, V shape. Exhale, hinge at your hips and take your hands to your thighs. Inhale, lengthen through your spine, and then place your hands solidly upon that chair and make your way to our puppy dog. Oomph in the arms. Inner upper arms spinning away, low belly lifting, cautious to keep your head above your hips. Pretty great stretch in the backs of your legs, wouldn't you say? 3 moments here. And keep your belly strong so there's trunk stability as we step forward, feet hip distance. Hands come back to your thighs, traction as you inhale, lengthen to your spine. Exhale, hinge at your hips, and then inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky. Float your arms alongside you. We'll trot our blocks into the mix just in case that's the prop of choice in a moment. You can also continue to just use the seat of your chair, so don't feel like you have to have blocks for this. If you're using them, place them on either side of your mat, not right underfoot, so that all of this can play together, right? We've got our chair, so that your hands can go on the seat of your chair. We have blocks in case you want to use them for the next bit. They're not underfoot. Hip distance, we stand in our mountain. Inhale, arms out and up, V shape. Exhale, hinge at your hips and hands to your thighs. Inhale your heart forward. Puppy dog, hands onto your chair, we're solid. Step it back into our puppy dog, prepare for down dog moment, right? Hands are strong into your seat and you feel the inner upper arms spin away. Now from here, step your right foot forward and step your left foot back. So we make our way into a lunge from our puppy dog, from our pretend down dog. Now your right hip is swinging back and your left hip is swinging forward. You can keep your hands here on the seat of your chair or transfer them onto your blocks if you like that. Now instead of letting your right hip swing out to the side, imagine flashlights on your hip bones and you want them both to be facing your chair. It's like the hip hinge that we did in our Sun Salutation, so we've got length through our spine, we're not rounding. We're still adhering to that understanding that our head stays above our hips. Low belly is lifting just as it did in our puppy dog. And stay here and slowly think about straightening that right leg. It doesn't need to straighten all the way. I bet for most of us it won't. What we want to stay away from is the tendency to have that swing out to the right, so we want to keep that hip hugging towards the left. And then length through your spine, we're not rounding. Head stays higher than our hips here too. Last few moments, just as we are. Rebend your right knee. Hands are either on the base of your chair or on your blocks. Step your left foot hip distance from your right, hands onto your thighs. Inhale, get length. Exhale, increase the hinge at your hips, and then inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky. Float your arms alongside you, palms face out. Second side. Inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky. Exhale, hinge at your hips and hands onto your thighs. Inhale, length through your spine, plant your hands on the seat of your chair and step back cautiously to that puppy dog stance. So oomph in the arms, inner upper arms are spinning, low belly is lifting, head higher than hips. Left foot steps forward from here, right foot steps back, and we're on the ball of our foot for a lunge. You can keep your hands right where they are, or shift them so that your hands are on your blocks. You're dialing back the left hip so that it feels like it's drawing back to your right toes. There's length through your spine, just like when we tractioned our hands on our thighs in our Sun Salutation. And we'll stay here for a few moments. Breath, and breath. Keeping our head high. Just as an experiment, begin to straighten your left leg and keep that left hip drawing back and back and back so it doesn't swing out to the side. And then when you feel like that's enough stretch, it's enough stretch. Keep your hip hinged. Play with pressing into the left big toe mound so that your left foot starts to really feel alive, and it inspires the whole leg all the way up to your hip crease, where we're creasing at the hip, hinging at the hip. Begin to bend your left knee and step right foot hip distance from left. Hands onto your thighs. Inhale. Now stay here. Place your hands onto your chair base. Step back and then use the base of your chair to bring your knees onto your mat. So just slowly lowering down. And we can move the chair off to the side and our blocks off to the side, and we will invite our folded blanket to the party. So once we're on hands and knees, you may find that this padding is a really good idea. So hands and knees, we want to take a moment to align our wrists underneath our shoulders so you're not so far back here that there's too much happening at the wrist, and you're not so far out here that you're shrugging your shoulders into your ears. So think of that puppy dog where we found that spaciousness, and lift your low belly away from the ground. Now you're just going to tuck your hips underneath you a little bit, like you're rounding in the low back, but keep your hands evenly pressing. And then a little sass as you lift your hips towards the sky, and there's a little low back bend. So drawing the belly in, rounding in the low back. It's a bit of a cat-cow. And then arching in the low back, just keeping an evenness in your hands. Hips are lifting high. We'll do that a couple more times. So just rounding the low back. And then arching gently the low back. Last round here. Rounding, drawing the belly in. And then arching and lifting your hips. Perfect. Make it a child's pose, so you can uncurl your toes and sit back on your heels. Arms might stay in front of you. You could come onto your fingertips or even run the arms alongside you. Forehead rests down either on your folded blanket or on the ground. 2 moments here. Come through hands and knees. Move your folded blanket off to the side and come onto your belly. On our belly we find Sphinx Pose, so just align your forearms with those long edges of your mat. Traction your elbows towards you and lift your heart through the gateway of your arms. As you do that, lift your low belly away from the ground. You can actually feel that against the ground. Press into the tops of your feet so that you can feel your kneecaps come off the ground. So the legs are working strong. Chin stays parallel to the ground, and we want to focus on letting this feel like the shoulder blades are imprinting your spine. Your collarbones are smiling. This is a little bit like a cobra or an up dog that would happen in a sun salutation, maybe eventually. Now from here, lower down, move your elbows about an inch closer to you and curl your toes under. Karate chop into the ground and round your upper back so that your bottom ribs have come off your mat now. And then let your belly come off the ground. Think about your thighs and hips coming off the ground, so we're coming into a forearm plank variation. Keep rounding shoulder blades onto your back, so we're not sagging in between the shoulder blades. There's a oomph into the arms, into those forearms. Stay here or play with just briefly lifting your knees off your mat, keeping your hips higher than your head, and then bring your knees to the ground and lower back into Sphinx Pose. Uncurl your toes and traction those elbows towards you. A couple of moments just like this, low belly lifting, tops of your feet pressing so that your kneecaps feel like they can come off the ground. No struggle in the neck, our chin's parallel to the ground, and you feel a smile occur in your collarbones. 2 moments here. Lower down, curl your toes under, lift your belly actively away from the ground, karate chop your forearms into the ground, round up a little bit in the upper back, let your belly come off the ground, maybe even your thigh bones, your knees stay down, your gaze is at that front edge of your mat, and this is a lot. So I would say most of us are going to be fine just like this, only if it makes sense in your body and you keep breathing while you're doing it, might you take your knees briefly off the ground. 2 2 moments. Return your knees, return your thighs, your hips, uncurl your toes. One last Sphinx pose. Chin stays parallel to the ground. It's a long, strong back bend. We're not trying to be overly bendy. We actually want to get it strong. And then lower down, come through hands and knees. So situate your hands, curl your toes under, hands and knees. You might want, once we get to hands and knees, to reach over and return your folded blanket underneath your knees. So I'll leave it to you if you'd like to use that. And then remember once again the alignment of our wrists underneath our shoulders so they're not too far forward, they're not too far back. We've got optimal wrist happiness and shoulders aligning over them. Now we're just going to flirt a little bit with a plank, kind of like you did on your forearm. So push into the ground so we fill out the upper back. It's not a sag. Step your right foot back, and you're just flirting with a plank with one leg. We've got oomph in our arms like we did in our puppy dog, core strength that we could feel on our forearms, and then return your right knee and step with your left foot back behind you, flirting with a plank, low belly lifting, oomph into the arms, evenness in the arms. 2 moments. Left knee next to right knee. Just come kneeling and take the backs of your hands and just gently press them together. So remember, you can be kneeling on your blanket. Maybe this is where you take me up on that. And after you release your wrists, you bring that blanket back into the mix. Let's make some twirls, one direction and then the other. We know that our wrists are happy before we head into another round of a plank flirt, which might go a little bit further than last time, although it doesn't need to. First, let's make sure that our foundation is solid. We've got our wrists underneath our shoulders and our hands spread wide. You can feel all of your fingers pressing into your mat. Lift your low belly, and then step your right foot back so we've got that flirt with a plank with our right leg, low belly lifting, and evenness of pressing into your hands. Stay here, it's perfect. Maybe left foot steps back too. Now I don't want you to sag in the upper back, so keep pushing oomph like our puppy dog into your arms. And then left knee comes back down, right knee comes back down. Come kneeling and press the backs of your hands and pause. So again, in the full Sun Salutation, there is a plank. There is what's called chaturanga, which is like a low push-up. And then there's a cobra, and we're kind of doing our version of all of those things today. One more time, hands and knees, wrists underneath shoulders, shoulder blades on your back. Step your left foot back as if you were flirting with a plank, and let that be enough. Hands spread wide, full expression of both hands. Maybe right foot or right knee comes off the ground and we're in a full plank for a moment. No pressure to do that. 2 moments with whatever you've got going on. And then right knee down and left knee down. And one more time, we'll release our wrists, pressing the backs of the hands together, and then just doing our twirls in one direction, and our twirls in the other direction. And then you can scooch your blanket off to the side if you're still using that. Come back onto your belly like we did for our Sphinx pose. But just a moment ago I said that there are cobras in a full Sun Salutation. So I'm going to offer you a couple of options. It might feel best in your body to stick with Sphinx because we want that long, strong back bend. If it makes sense, hands next to your floating ribs, and then the traction is with your hands instead of your forearms. But here's where it gets tricky, at least for me. Once my hands are situated, I feel a little bit like I want to use my neck too much. So we want to stay away from that. Also, elbows don't splay out to the sides. We don't have something like this going on. Chin stays parallel, elbows brush against your ribs, low belly is lifting, whether it's Sphinx or Cobra, tops of the feet press, kneecaps feel like they're lifting off your mat. And then just stay with your long and strong back bend. Last couple of moments here. And then gently release it down and roll over onto your back. Once you're lying on your back, place your feet hip distance. So hip distance on your mat. Take a hold of the edges of your mat. And if you don't have a mat, just let your palms be flat onto the ground. Tuck one shoulder blade and then the other underneath you. So now we have the ground against our shoulder blades. We've been talking about our shoulder blades quite a bit, but there's something about the feedback of the tactile floor that's really important. Now lift your low belly. Let your feet be parallel to the long edges of your mat so you're not turning the heels in and the toes out. And ever so carefully lift your hips a little bit. So it's like we're doing Sphinx Pose, but now with our the lower part of our back. Or it's a little bit like the cat-cow that we did. And then gently lower your hips to your mat and pause. We'll do one more round of that. It's just, again, a preparation for upward facing dogs and cobras, maybe at some point in future practices. But this is pretty delicious just as it is. One more time, carefully lift your hips, elongate your tailbone towards the backs of your legs, and feel like you're trying to pull your mat apart and pull your mat away from your head a little bit. 2 moments here. Gently release your hips down onto your mat and pause for a moment. Take one hand onto your heart and one hand onto your low belly. Let your eyes close. Feel the rise and fall of your breath and the beating of your heart. And let that be enough for a moment. Blink your eyes open. Cross your right ankle on top of your left thigh. It can stay just like this. And you could keep one hand on your heart and one hand on your low belly, just like we were doing, while you enjoy this stretch. If you want more, you can either place a block underneath your left heel or reach through the space and interlace around your left hamstring or around your left shin. Now think about that feedback of our shoulder blades against the ground and just see if you can snuggle your shoulder blades underneath you and find a place where we can meditate. We're opening our hips, we're opening our heart. Let your jaw relax, your cheeks, the muscles around your eyes and your mouth. Just like this. I'm going to be silent so that you can use this shape as a place to meditate. 1 full minute. Using the interlace, undo your interlace, and all of us feet hip distance on our mat for a moment. We consciously construct the second side. Left ankle on top of right thigh. And that's plenty just like that. Maybe you elevate your right heel onto a block, or you reach through the space and interlace around your right hamstring or around your right shin. And then we're going to snuggle in and have our quiet moment, our meditative moment. Before I leave you in total silence, let your jaw relax. Your jaw, neck, throat, soft. And then our full minute together on this side. Gently begin to release your second side. Scoot any blocks off to the side so that they're not in your way. Take your arms out to the side. You can also cactus your arms if you'd like to. Scoot your hips to the left with your feet about as wide as your mat. Just let them windshield wiper over to the right for a bit of a spinal twist here. Come through center, pick up your hips just a little, scoot them over towards your right, let the windshield wipers drop to the left. And then come through center, step your feet as wide as your mat, let your knees drop so that they knock on each other. And then one last easy breezy lift of your hips to create space. And either you stay here in constructive rest or straighten your legs out for our Shavasana final meditation. Close, maybe cover your eyes. Fall into the floor and let yourself completely let go. You're welcome to stay here in your Shavasana as long as you'd like. If you're ready to start to make your way back, move your fingers and toes. You could stretch your arms and legs away from each other like a morning stretch. And then bend your knees and place your feet on the ground if they're not there already. Roll to either side. Use your hands so that your head's the last thing to come up to any comfortable seat. And once you're seated, palms up or down. Just take a moment to appreciate your Sun Salutation. Saluting the sun. Embracing a new day. Our yoga on our mat is always designed to enhance our life off our mat, to make the sun shine a little brighter. I'm Andrea. Thank you so much for practicing with me. I look forward to us doing it again together soon.